Hundreds and hundreds of people here.
Yeah, is there a lot in the waiting room?
No, four.
There's nine people online on school right now, probably includes us. Ooh, fun. I like this part.
Which part?
Watching everyone pop in.
Oh,
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for taking time on a Thursday. Who was on the last one we did? Anyone?
I think Cindy was.
I was.
Cool. What was a big takeaway you got on that one?
Um, the calculator and seeing how you guys adjust, and looking at those bottom two things to make sure that they are in the green, not the red.
Mhm.
Those are two main things.
I like my colors.
I know they stand out.
Um, yeah, we're never trying to convince ourselves a deal makes sense. Either, those two boxes are green and we're getting the ROI and the, dollar amount that we want, or it's a pass. The thing is, if you make a wrong move on a flip, um, it could cost you enough to put you out of business. So you don't really want to be wrong on these.
That was really easy to see the way you guys explained it last week too.
Yeah, it's just I look at those as our margin for error, right?
Yeah.
If the market turns, if we're wrong somewhere, um, how safe do we feel that our lenders who funded the deal for us are protected? Not they're not worried about our profit, but like at the end of the day, this is a long game.
Yeah.
And we get the luxury of buying multiple of these because other people trust us with their money, whether it's hard money lenders, we've built relationships with, or private money lenders. That's kind of like like I said last time, our general rule is I want to be able to sleep at night. And
What is
so
Kiavi's?
say again.
What is Kiavi's requirements for loans? I mean, some of them require that you have so many
Have
flips.
you spoken with them yet?
No, I have not.
Okay.
So the Kiavi is going to, they have two different products, right? They have just your standard product if you have not done any or many flips before. And that's one set of qualifications in order to get approved for a loan. Then they have what I believe is called the Pro program. In order to qualify for Kiavi Pro, all you need to do is have exited 5 flips in the last 24 months. So it's not a huge ask, right? If you are doing fix and flips at any level, there's a pretty good chance that you've exited at least 5 of them in the last 2 years, right? So if you get into pro, it just makes everything easier. It makes the whole process way more seamless. Getting into pro, it's like going and buying your primary residence. Like they want so many pieces of paperwork from you, and it takes a long time to get approved, and it feels like it's never going to end. But then once it ends, all I literally have to do is log into their platform, put my information in, and it's already approved. I don't have to, as long as it obviously they approve the price that we're purchasing at and they feel it's decent value. But I don't have to like submit it to someone and put another application in. Our applications is approved. We have a $3 million line with them. And it's just a rolling line that we can always use. And we don't have to worry about any kind of approvals of any kind of on those anymore, which is really nice. There are probably lenders that have slightly better terms, but we just like having the Kiavi Pro account and how easy they make it for us. And just like any lender, stuff goes wrong sometimes. We get frustrated with them sometimes. I'm sure they get frustrated with us sometimes, right? Gage mentioned in the chat, check out Optimus. I don't know who they are. I've never heard of them. Good to know that they're out there.
It's always good to have multiple options.
Yeah, yeah.
Our interest rate and points for Kiavi, I think are totally reasonable for what rates are out there right now. Again, for us, it's an ease of use thing, right? I know that they'll underwrite it quickly. We'll get approval quickly. So when we need to make decisions on a time frame, like an inspection time frame in our contract, it gives us the confidence that we can move forward on a deal or not from the lending perspective. I think they could close in 10 days, generally speaking. So
I mean, they can close if all stars are aligned, they can close in as little as 5 or 6 days, but do not ever go into a deal having to do that. Dennis, my investor loan, a lot of people use them. We just personally don't, and no real reason why. I know a lot of people have had plenty of success with them. Obviously, being in sub two, they were introduced to sub two by Pace. I don't know what it was, 3 or so years ago. So they're obviously very well versed in what we do in our world, and I don't have any idea what their terms are though.
any lender at the end of the day, hard or private, is going to come down to your relationship with them. We just chose one that worked for us and just built that relationship because it just gets easier each time. That it's good to have backups. So thanks everyone for sharing. Definitely a good thing to have.
Dave, who's the other one we use? Anchor?
Anchor, yeah.
Yeah, so Anchor is another company that very similar. We've used them in the past. We've also gotten frustrated with them in the past, so we don't use them really anymore.
We've even gotten frustrated with Kiavi.
It happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
Dennis, did you have a question, or I couldn't tell if you were speaking or cool.
You're on mute.
No, I was just trying to think. I was talking to myself. How do you spell Cavi?
Oh, Kiavi.
Kiavi.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
I haven't reached out to our rep. We have a good relationship with our rep. If you wanted to chat or whatever, I could probably put you guys on.
Thanks.
I'm sure he'd be cool with that.
Yeah. All right. So Gage just asked, what frustration are we talking about with lenders? It's really deal specific. We had one with Anchor where we had a really good deal. His thing had probably $150,000 spread on it. Like not just spread, but potential profit, massive potential profit. But it was one of these where if you just did your typical appraiser formula for looking at a property and trying to put a value on it, you're going to pull mile radius and figure out what the average price is of those homes. This happened to be like the premier neighborhood, very small premier neighborhood in that whole town. And it was right on the river, and it was significantly more expensive than everything else around it. So you just couldn't look outside the neighborhood. And while we can all have that conversation and we can look at it logically and say, yes, of course, this is a $700,000, $800,000 house. Look at everything around it. Of course it is. The underwriters look at it very black and white and they say, no, our formula tells us this house is only worth 500, therefore there's no spread on it and we just aren't going to approve this deal. Or because of there's not enough like kind around it, they just say, sorry, we won't lend on it. It's not a product we'll lend on. It doesn't fit our buy box and it's not what we would consider a safe investment, right? So that happened. You could have we recently had a problem with Kiavi where they had a deal that, in all fairness, we probably messed up on our end. They definitely messed up on their end where we just didn't fill out our application correctly, I believe. And we were supposed to close, went to them and they were like, we don't even have underwriting done on your property because you didn't fill out the application properly. And we didn't know that. We just assumed they were good. And then they just dragged their feet and dragged their feet and dragged their feet. So eventually we just said, you know what, we're going to pull the plug on you. And we took one of our private lenders and put them in first position instead of Kiavi. Because we actually had to use them as a gap lender because we had to close on the house. So we had to use a gap lender to purchase the house. And then we were just going to replace them with Kiavi. We said, you know what? You guys are dragging your feet now. We're just going to leave our gap lender in place. And we converted our gap lender to just a regular private lender on 6-month term. So all kinds of things can happen. Every single deal is different. And anyone that tells you fixing and flipping is super cut and dry and nothing ever goes wrong is probably lying to you, or they're not doing it. So what we like, Dave was
That's
saying,
what keeps it fun.
yeah, we would prefer it wasn't fun. We like to keep it very, very conservative with everything we do. We like to sleep at night. And for us, I'd say more than sleeping at night, the most important thing is knowing that our private money lenders are protected, right? So when I'm underwriting the deal, can I?
Let's use that to transition into the deal. I think we're 10 minutes past
Yeah,
now.
yep. We're still getting people coming in, so I was okay with stalling this a little bit, but yeah, we will. So when we underwrite a deal, and like Dave was saying before, I'll show you a calculator in a minute. We have boxes in the bottom of our calculator that spit out our results as far as our numbers, and they turn green or they turn red. If it's a green number, green means go, we're good to go. Both of them have to turn green. We need to make sure that we have at least a $35,000 minimum profit per deal, net profit, and at least a 12% ROI. If we get one but not the other, it's not a deal. Now, we're definitely leaving money on the table as a business. 100% we know we are. But again, we like to be able to go to our private money lenders and say, hey, even if things go sideways on the deal and the market starts to correct on us, we would have to have this much correction in the market for you guys to have any risk of your capital being in jeopardy. So I would rather make slightly less money knowing we're leaving deals on the table and know that all of our private money lenders are very, very happy doing business with us. Okay. So I'm going to now share my screen. And
I'll be monitoring the side chat. So as anyone has questions,
can you do me a favor?
we'll try to get to them in as real time as we can. I think it's more powerful when we answer them like while we're discussing something than waiting to the end. So
yeah. Dave, can you keep an eye on school as well and just make sure there's no memberships pending in there? Because I literally just approved another one.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's people going in there trying to get the link. All right, cool. Let me share this. Okay. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Yes. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right. So the deal that we're going to go through, this for anyone that was on last week's deal breakdown, this is a little bit of a different deal. I will still touch on some things that we want to make sure everyone looks at for each deal, that maybe they didn't pertain to this specific deal. And we'll walk through some things that maybe we didn't do perfectly in this deal. Okay, so like I said before, anyone that tells you that every single deal goes perfectly and they did everything right is probably either not flipping or they're lying to you. So we're not afraid to admit when we make mistakes. And I just like Pace says, any of the coaches out there, I'd rather you guys come in and see the mistakes that we make so you guys don't make those mistakes yourself, right? It's just, we already made it. Why not tell everyone what it was? So we know we're not going to make that mistake again. There's no reason why you ever have to go and make that mistake. Okay. All right. So this property, this is 2000 Cypress Road in Florence, South Carolina. Pretty small town in South Carolina. House was in really rough condition. We got it for $50,000. Reno ended up being $56,700, as you'll see in either the next slide or a couple slides later. Our original budget was actually $50,000. That was the actual scope of work and the estimate from our contractor. As with many of these flips, you discover things along the way, and sometimes whether it's through concessions after your inspection or just when you're going along the project, you realize, we just uncovered, we found that the sewer line needs to be replaced. We found out, things that you don't see ahead of time. So there was an additional $6,700 of reno that we did not anticipate coming into this. We borrowed $125,000 from our private money lender. So why this is different from last week's, we're using a private money lender for 100% of the purchase and 100% of the reno on this property. Last week's deal, we used Kiavi for the purchase, 90% of the purchase, and 100% of the reno. Then we used our private money lender to make up that additional 10% of our purchase, plus closing costs. Plus, we'd like to be able to pay ourselves on these deals when we buy them. Covers marketing costs, pays commissions, things like that. So we borrowed 125,000 and we ended up selling the property for 191,000.
We listed at 199, so we did take a slight discount on
Yep.
what we listed at.
Yep. Total profit, and we'll go through the calculator so you'll see exactly how we got to this number. Total profit was 62,605 and an ROI of 48%. So you can get massive ROIs when you're buying $50,000 houses. It's really hard to get an ROI like this when you start dealing with, you know, 150, 200, 300, $400,000 purchases. You know, that's when it gets to the point where like, okay, yeah, as long as we're at 12, we're happy. We're good to go, because you might be at 12% on like a $500,000 or $600,000 ARV. You might be at 12% ROI, but your net profit is, you know, easily $50,000, $60,000, and you know, it's a really good deal. Reno in this one is longer than we normally take, but it was a as you'll see in some of the pictures, it was a pretty bad house, right? So we took 54 days in our reno. Right now on everything we've been doing lately, we're averaging around 3 weeks, I'd say, Dave, for our renos.
Yeah, our general rule of thumb going into a project is we want to be able to be in and out, because that's our risk phase, right? That's when we're exposed. So we want to get in and out of a reno in under 4 weeks is what we shoot for. This one, this was a bigger reno than we normally take on, but it was a test for us because it was just, we had a good conversation with our agent about the demand in the market at this price point. We knew we were getting such a discount on it. Like, there was just a lot of room for us to take a little, not risk on the financial side, but risk in terms of getting into a different type of project for us, meaning a full gut. Usually we wouldn't get into something that's going to take us over the 4 weeks unless it's tight. And we wouldn't get into something when we're really ripping the place apart. But this one just had such a good spread in it that we're like, you know what, this could be a great experience for us. So,
Yeah.
you know, the other thing is, why did we put one private lender in first position on this? We had such a big spread that they were extremely protected, funding 100% of purchase and reno. You may get, if you ever get pushback from a lender about funding the whole thing, this one we just had such a good spread on it that it was easy. Like, hey, what's worst case scenario, Mr. Lender? You get this house that we're all in at, renovated now at, you know, a 50% discount almost. So
yeah. And now I know we mentioned this last week, but we do not put any of our own money into these deals. Zero. We are always using a private lender for whatever is left over on our entry fee, right? So if we're using Kiavi, we are going to always over borrow to make sure we don't have any of our own cash. It's just the way we do business. And our lenders are okay with that. They know exactly what we're doing. And we've done enough deals with them that they don't mind the fact that we have literally $0 of our own money in the deal. Okay, so list to contract. Dave did already mention that we listed this property at 199. You can see up here, sale price was 191. So we sold it in 6 days. And you would think, all right, well, you guys sold it really, really quick. Why did you take such a big price drop? For us, the thing I haven't shown you yet is what the interest charges are from our lender. Okay. Every lender is different. And we have a handful of lenders and none of them have the same terms. Okay. But lenders in general private lenders are relatively expensive. Every day you hold the property costs you extra money. So for us, it was worth dropping the price to get this property sold quickly because it frees up that private lender. This lender put $125,000 into the deal. So knowing we had additional projects coming up, we could either go out and try and find more lenders, or we can get our existing lender his cash back. So we know we can just go do more deals, right? So we made a calculated decision to accept an offer $9,000 below or $8,000 below asking price only 6 days after it was listed, because in the grand scheme of things, like, big picture for the business, it made way more sense, and it was going to be way more profitable for us to get that private lender's money turned multiple times and get that 125,000 into 2 or 3 more deals. Because now he'll go in second position on 3 deals at, let's say, 40,000 each. And we don't have to worry about trying to find extra lenders. Okay. There are times in this business where that is literally the bottleneck for you. You can only do so many deals because that's how much money your private lenders have, right? Until you have an unlimited pool of private lenders, but that's tough as well, because if you have a private lender that wants to give you first right of refusal, well, you better have projects for them. So you can't be like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Lender, I may have a project for you sometime in the next few months. I know you have $60,000 laying around. Don't give it to anybody else, because I know I'll have a project for you eventually. Well, they want their money working, right? So they're not going to necessarily wait for you to find a project. So it's better as soon as you know that 125 is cashing out. We knew that once we were under contract, 6 weeks later, our private lenders, that's how long it takes to close these things with a retail buyer usually, we knew our lender would have 125,000 plus his interest, let's just call it $130,000, in his pocket, burning a hole in his pocket. Hey, get this back to work, guys. Okay.
Yeah. Because we're paying them annualized rates. We're not paying them a flat, guaranteed interest rate. It's an annualized rate. So if their money's in a deal, it's working for them. If it's not, it's not. There's a balance there between us, finding enough deals to keep their money in play. Because if they lend to a couple people, like some of our lenders do lend to multiple people, and they kind of have some money slated for us. But it's up to us to align our deals so that we keep that money. Because if we lose it, we may not get it back. They may go with someone else. I want to touch on something else too about private money. You're about to see what our interest rate is from this lender. We arguably pay more than I'd like to pay a lender. But at the end of the day, the deals work. We underwrite with what their money cost us. And again, you have to look at this as a journey. So we maybe took someone in the beginning whose money's kind of expensive, but as long as our deals work, who cares? What are we doing? We're building our credibility package of another successful exit, another successful exit, another successful exit. Why? Because now that starts to tell a story when we're talking to other people with money that want to put it into our projects. Hey, now I don't start at that number. I start lower. And if I could settle anywhere below what my more expensive lender is, I just save myself a few points. Also, you have to look at the end of the day, 125 grand. Let's just say a flat rate of 12% annualized. If we're only in it for 4 months, a couple extra points, what's it really costing me? If it's costing me a couple $1,000 and that kills a deal, I shouldn't be in that deal anyway. So I'm not, points on lenders hurt a lot more than an annualized rate.
Yeah. Okay, I want to hold on a second. Somehow I didn't put the calculator.
We did have a question too from Gage. Love your guys' opinion and or guidance when appropriate on converting a duplex back into a large single family house in a high-end area. I have a deal at 900K that can hold up to 1.5. So my short answer on that, and Jeremy may have a completely different, that's out of our expertise. We have a very clear buy box. Your buy box may differ. We stick only to single family homes in median price neighborhoods, 3 bedrooms plus. A couple other things around that, but that's our specific buy box because we feel comfortable there for a number of reasons that, we like. What I would do is I'm not going to say we don't look at projects like that. When we do, we leverage our local experts, that being our agent team. I want to understand at that price point, what is the real demand on the market right now?
That was going to be my answer. This is not, yeah, this is not a question for us or really for anyone on this call. You need to have a rock star agent in your market that knows the market very, very well and you trust, and ask them what the demand would be for that type of product. Is it worth doing that project? Will it be profitable and will it be a buyer on the back end? Because every single market's different. I could tell you that, hey, I could do that here in Birmingham, and maybe it doesn't work for you in your market, right? So I would go to your trusted professional who should be part of your team, especially if even if you're doing local flips, right? You should have someone you can go to and say, hey, I'm thinking about this deal. What do you guys think? What are you seeing in the market? You should be able to just go to them. Like we flip in multiple markets and we have agents in each market that we can go to and just ask questions and just rely on their expertise. Okay, so somehow I forgot to put the calculator inside this presentation. So here it is. This is not the right calculator. How did I do this? Hold on a second. Where's my calculator? This is the wrong calculator. Hold on. Let me find it. Here we go. I have the calculator. This is the calculator. And let's change properties. There we go. Okay. So as Dave mentioned, you will see our interest rate. This lender, they come in all shapes and sizes. This lender charges us 18% interest, annualized. Okay. We could argue that an 18% lender could be cheaper than a 12% lender because we have 12% lenders who are more expensive than this. The variable is points, right? If you have someone who says, hey, I'll give you 12% interest, but I want X amount of points. Let's just say I want 2 points. Okay. Well, a point is a very fixed number. It does not matter how fast or how long you're in the project. The points are the points, right? You pay that in the beginning. If it's 2 points on $200,000, it's $4,000. It's a fixed cost in your deal. Where that fixed cost really hurts you is if you're really fast with your flips, right? If you have 2 points spread out over 6 to 9 months, I'll do that all day long for a low interest rate, no big deal. But when you get in and out of projects, which more often than not we do, get in and out of projects in 3 months, you have to multiply those 2 points by 4, right? Because those 3 months happen 4 times a year. You're annualizing this interest rate, right? So you're going to take that 2% in 2 points is the equivalent of 8 extra percentage points on your loan. Now that 12% lender is the equivalent of a 20% lender. And now just like that, my 18% lender is cheaper. Now,
Why else are we willing to pay this lender 18%?
He's incredibly flexible.
Incredibly flexible. We have no payments on him. He takes a lump sum at the end. That's attractive for balancing your cash flow through a project.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, we're not waiting on construction draws like we do with Kiavi, where there has to be an inspection. We have to get things approved. Sometimes they don't give 100% of the draw back. We're out of pocket floating money. So this lender will fund 100% purchase, reno, closing costs, and is just extremely easy to work with.
Yeah, that understanding that, it's like one of those silent killers in a deal. Just not realizing what points are actually costing, and how the difference, like, because the inverse of what we're just talking about is also true for a lot of people. If I'm really slow, if I know that, there's no way I'm going to finish this flip in less than 9 months. Now, all of a sudden, the 18% interest rate is killing us, absolutely killing us. So you just have to know how fast can you be in or out of a deal. Like, we'd rather not put an 18% lender on a deal that we know is going to be a big, big project, because those will always take longer. We'd rather use somebody that's less expensive and probably even pay points. Okay. So I told you guys I would walk you through where our profit came from. So I'm going to walk through this calculator. Any of you that don't have a calculator, get one. I'm assuming most of you guys are in the school community. The calculator's in the community. It's in there for you guys to take, use, do whatever you want with it. I'll walk through what we do here. We always walk through down the left side of the calculator to the yellow line, and then we go to the right side. We have on this
Yeah,
property.
so this calculator and a video explaining it, both exists in there. So you
Yeah.
guys have access to this for free. Just download it, use it.
Okay.
Dennis asked a question. So you can just use the calculator to figure out which lender will work better for the deal. Yeah, I mean, you're just gonna, if you look at line, what was it, C20, there's your interest rate. Well, that's for a second position lender. So if you look at, let's just say you have one lender. So we have this set up because we use two lenders in a lot of our deals. But you'll just change the interest rates and points, on the calculator. So line 15 and C15 and 16, if you only have one, and if you have two, add line 19 and 20.
Here, only because you just said that, Dave, I'm actually going to show another property real quick.
Yeah.
This is a property that we just got under contract. And the way the calculator is set up, it will automatically do this where it puts in two lenders for us. So you can see this one, we are using Kiavi for our first position. They charge us 1 point. They also charge us a $999 service fee, right? So we have 1,044 in points and $1,000 in service fee. Then they charge us 11.5% on this deal. And on top of that, we also have our second position lender. He's only lending 30 grand on this. In this automatic scenario, he would ultimately lend more, because we know this isn't going to cover closing costs or commissions or anything like that. So we probably would just take this 30 and raise it up to, let's just say, 50. Borrowing more does not hurt you all that much, right? If you look at this calculator, if I change it back to 30, you can see our estimated net profit is 42,346. If I go and borrow $20,000 more, make it 50, it lowered it to 41,446. So you're not paying that much additional interest, but what you are doing is you're affording yourself the ability not to pay with any of your own capital, so you can leave that money in the bank and run the business with it, right? We can pay salaries, we can pay for marketing, we can do the things that we have to do to keep the business running on a day-to-day basis. And as long as your lenders understand what you're doing and are completely fine with it, in our experience, it's the easier, could argue maybe it's safer, maybe it's not safer, but for us, we prefer to do it this way. Okay.
Yeah, your lender's betting on the deal, but at the end of the day, the lender is betting on you as a human and your ability to manage this project and perform. And, really, if things go sideways, to make sure they get their money back.
Yep. Okay, so back to the original deal. Total lender costs on this deal, because we are only in this for 3 months. Actually, we were in this one for almost 4 months. I'm gonna change the calculator. Okay, so that did cost us an extra $1,500 or so of interest charges. 4 months holding time, total lender costs $7,500. Okay, so when I was talking about earlier about the green or red box, this is telling us our estimated net profit is $60,730. Now we're gonna come to the right side, make sure all of our costs are correct. Anytime you hold a property, you're going to have bills associated with the property. Property taxes, electric bill, water bill, gas bill, and any other bills you might have, like cutting the lawn and things like that. $550 a month. Total holding cost for the 4 months is $2,200. You are going to obviously buy the property before you can fix and flip. So you have 1% closing costs. Unfortunately, because it's such a cheap purchase, this number is probably inaccurate. You're not going to have $500 for closing costs. In this case, you're probably going to have to just manually change this number. Probably something like $2,000, maybe $2,500 for closing costs on this property. And then selling, you have your closing costs, 1% closing costs, and 6% realtor commissions. So realtor commissions on the sell side is another kind of hot button topic. We prefer to leave it at 6% for our agents. The reason we do that is you will get more value out of letting the agents who are, you're supposed to be looking at them as part of your team. You'll get more value allowing them to get their 6% and not nickel and dime them down to 5 or 4.5 or whatever number you want to try and get them down to. Then you get more value out of that than what you'll save. Okay. So we want them to get their full 6%. And we just know it's part of the deal. It's factored in, just like we're paying 18% interest. It is what it is. That's the cost to get our team together. All right. We need our lender at a certain percent. We need our agent to get their full commission. And that brings your total selling cost on this deal to $13,370. And gives us an ROI of 46%. Right. So green, this tells us right here, as soon as we plug this deal into the calculator, we're saying yes to it.
Yeah, and let's look at the actual numbers too. For our business model, playing in median price points, let's just call it on average 300K house. Take that 3% versus 2% or 2.5%. It shouldn't be a deal killer for you, but our agents go above and beyond for us, and they deserve, every extra $100, $1,000 in that commission that they can make.
Yeah. Any questions on the calculator? No? Okay.
Cool. Yeah, you guys, if you haven't yet, it's in the community. There's a video on it. Grab it, use it. Ask us any questions on it as you're plugging in your own deals. The most important thing with with any calculator is the information you put in. So if you're not familiar, if you're not comping well for your ARVs, then everything else is kind of thrown off.
Mm-hmm.
But what do they say? Shit in, shit out. So make sure you feed it correct numbers.
Yep.
We always like to be conservative.
All right, so let's get into the actual deal now. And so what we'll do on all of our projects is we will go to our contractor and we're going to put it on them to give us full scope of work, itemized scope of work, and give us the timeline and the order that they're going to do everything. Right. So if you don't do that, like number one pushback I hear from a lot of people is my contractor will never give me an itemized scope of work. You have the wrong contractor. You got the wrong person. Again, they're part of your team. And the idea is that you have a conversation and you say, hey, listen, this is not a one-time flip. I'm not looking to just bring you one deal and we both part as friends. We're looking to build a relationship together. We're looking for a long-term partnership. I want to bring you multiple deals. But in order to do that, I need you to help me so that I can go to the bank and I can make sure my draw schedule gets done correctly. If I don't know when you're doing what, how can I go to Kiavi and put my draw schedule into Kiavi to know when I can get money out of my rehab draws. If we have, let's say we have $100,000 on this one, we had 60 grand, right? Let's say we have 60 grand sitting in Kiavi that we're allowed to draw to pay our contractors. When I put that in Kiavi, I have to literally put a line item with every single dollar amount. And I have to try and figure out what I'm going to be able to ask for when it's going to be completed to make sure we don't have all of our money out without the ability to get any of it back in. Okay, so I try to pad things like demo budget. If we know we're doing a roof, that's like the first thing we're going to do. So if they tell us the roof is 8,000, I might put 9,000 or 10,000 in Kiavi for the roof. Right? So we can get a couple extra thousand back. Why do I want to get a couple extra thousand back in the beginning? Because this is our payment schedule to our contractor. This is written by him, which you can see it didn't do a very good job of writing this thing, but this is done by him. And I would love to have the ability at any time to say, not just to say no to a contractor when they ask for a payment at the end of on Friday, but be able to say, have you finished every single item on your weekly checklist? Well, no, I didn't, but my guys have to get paid. Okay, well, you wrote the schedule. You approved the schedule. You signed the schedule. You will receive your check as soon as the first X amount of items are done. If week 1 has 4 items on it, then when all 4 are done, you will receive we'll hit send on the wire. It will come to you, but not until you do that, right? That's how we hold them accountable. And that's the conversation we have in the very beginning. Like, hey, listen, we're going to hold you accountable. And then you're going to also hold us accountable, knowing that if you get all 4 items done, we're going to pay you. Right? So this payment schedule is really, really important for you to stay on time with a project, right? Otherwise, you get a couple weeks go by and they're like, oh yeah, we're working on it. No, you told me the first 4 items were going to be done by the first Friday. Here we are on the second Thursday and you still haven't finished the first 4 items, but now there's another 4 that you're supposed to be done by tomorrow. You're only on item 3. We should be on item 8. And yet you expect to get paid. Well, you're not getting paid and you already signed off on knowing that you won't be getting paid, right? Unfortunately, we have this conversation with contractors, I don't want to say on a regular basis, but more often than we would like.
We're training our contractors how we work.
Mhm.
We're
Yeah.
training them on how we're going to make a bunch of money together. Now, important to touch on, where do our contractors come from? When we're in a market that's not our home market, we go in with 0 relationships. The biggest hack I could give you guys, and I'm not saying this is the only way to do it, but this is what's worked really, really well for us. And if there's one thing you take away from this call, we start with our agent first and getting your referral from an agent. We're constantly filtering people, right? So like, first we have a filtering system to find our agent. Generally, it has to do with their responsiveness and their amount of transactions and time in the market. But really, what do I care about? How responsive they are. You'd be surprised. I go into a market, we go into a market, and first thing I do is I look at agents' numbers and I message a bunch of them the same generic message, and I see who responds. I'd say, generally speaking, 8 to 9 out of 10 agents don't even respond. They just filtered themselves out. And then I take the ones that actually do respond and we go through and, the next filter is, do you have a GC or contractor team that you're familiar with working with? That for us is what has allowed us to manage expectations, to set good upfront agreements with our team about how we plan on working together long term, and about what we expect from them on a project. Here's the scope of work that we both agreed on. Here's a payment schedule we both agreed on. Here's the time frame we both agreed on. All that stuff. But we're not just picking a contractor out of thin air. we go in with a relationship. That relationship's the agent. Maybe that agent was a referral. But a contractor is never just, we're never just pulling them out of thin air and, you know, hitting it and hoping.
Yeah, Gage, you have a really good question. Do the contractors get pissed when they don't get paid and just leave? This is why it's really important to have that conversation up front. You know, so in our business, Dave does the find the agent, talk to the GC, interview the GC. You're truly interviewing the GC. You're setting the expectations of what it's like to work with us. And they're agreeing essentially to our terms. So when this issue comes up, and yes, they get pissed but my guys need to get paid. It's Friday afternoon. My guys need to get paid. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. GC, we had this conversation. You understood the way we work, and you understood what the expectations were, because the expectations were set by you. As soon as you finish the fourth item on your list, we will absolutely wire you the money. And they're not happy the first time it happens, for sure.
Yeah,
But
and so managing this virtually, how do we hold them to accountable to knowing if the work's done or not? Typically it's a video walkthrough, and usually it's not by them. This is why a strong agent relationship and having the agent be the one that referred them, and why we give our agent our full 6%, because our agent's working for us. That agent's going to come through. We're also in constant communication. It's not like, you know, we're not babysitting, but there's also not a lot of time that goes by we're not communicating on a job. Also important in keeping on schedule, but what's going to happen is our agent's going to go through and do that walkthrough. And so the agent's going to take those photos, because at the end of the day, before the agent, remember, the agent's getting the listing. So they want everything done quick so they could make their money on this whole thing. And they want it done well because they just referred this person. And at the very end of the construction, they're going to go through with their blue tape and they're going to give their punch list. So if they're involved in the project all along, there's going to be less blue tape punch list stuff that they're going to have to do at the very end. But they're going to go through and confirm for us, hey, look, they have a copy of our schedule as well. And they're going to go take a picture, check, done, check, done, check, done. Because if something comes up that they're like, I can't list this like this, well, then it ain't done.
I just noticed, I was looking at the chat real quick while you were talking. Dave asked a question 10 minutes ago. For holding costs, do you insure the property while rehabbing? Yeah, if you're using a like a Chiavi type loan, you're gonna have to have insurance on the property. But yes, we get it. We get insurance for every one of our flips that we do, and you're gonna want to get fix and flip insurance, right? Because all insurance policies are different. They all have their own strengths and weaknesses, but make sure your insurance company knows that you are not occupying the property. It is not a rental policy. It is a vacant fix and flip policy.
Dennis had some questions about some paperwork in there as well. Sorry, I'm just actually looking for
What was that question? Oh, where the heck is that?
whiteboard.
I know I saw it too. Was
Yeah, I'm actually going to one of our projects. Properties.
Oh, how do you come up with contracts for the work? Is that question? Yeah, so we have all of this paperwork that we use for every one of our deals. We have since stopped using this form. We allowed this contractor to do it on his form. We have our own forms that we do it with. And are you pulling those up, Dave?
Yeah, what do we have? An independent contractor agreement. Let's see, what is this one? We have an independent contractor agreement. We have their scope of work. Actually, I don't like it on this one because we switched things since. Let's see, properties. What did we do last week?
Last week was Came no.
Came out, okay.
Here, I'm gonna
Um,
pull it up because I think it was on here, actually. Let's see.
We have indemnification, we have a lien package.
No, it's not on here. Interesting. I thought it was on there. It's not. But it's definitely in our, it's in our drive. Um, do you have a performance agreement and a holdback until the punch list is completed? So that is not really a problem until the very end. We generally try to get less than 25% as a down payment. It depends on the scope of work. The big item in the very beginning is usually the roof because the roofer wants to get paid right away. So if we're doing a roof, it's hard to keep that initial down payment really low. If we're not doing a roof and it's just demo right away, we can generally keep it pretty low. We'll try and keep it as low as we can because we know we can't get it back from Kiavi as on our draws if they're not doing a lot of like big ticket items.
Which is
What we'll do-
important. Yeah.
So what we'll do, as you can see here, we have payment 1, payment 2, payment 3. So payment 1 is really like our down payment, right? And we have payment 2, payment 3, but payment 3 is essentially the last payment. We will, because we know that we want to have them be able to pay their employees, their workers, we will pay them half of that payment number 3, 2 days before the work's expected to be completed. As long as we know they're close, usually at the end, it's a lot of punch list items. We'll pay half of the 17,000 2 days before the work's set to be done, and we'll pay the balance after our realtor walks through the property for the final inspection, and we know there's no more blue tape being put on anything and everything is taken care of. Okay.
And then we'll get our lien waiver release,
And then we get our lien waiver release, exactly.
which we then need that to go to Kiavi to get our final construction draw.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this was a pretty ugly house.
But the house, so obviously, you know, it looks a lot scarier because they clearly, and you know, trash out was a big part of this thing.
Mhm.
But the general bones of it weren't horrible. Our subfloors were good. We were able to keep that. Our kitchens, we did countertops, but cabinets, we didn't redo cabinets. We
We
just,
did doors.
we did new doors. Now, important, and this was one of the things I put at the bottom for us to discuss, design elements. We gave our contractor, so generally speaking, right, what is our rule going into a project? We want to deliver the product that the market wants at the price that the market is willing to pay. This is not an HGTV show. We're not trying to like run Airbnbs and have them photograph extremely well. We're aware that at this price point, your buyer generally just wants a clean turnkey house. That being said, you know, we were not a part of the choices on these cabinets or this color pattern. We were kind of in shock when we got it. Our contractor said he does a lot of market research. And as you can see how fast we went into contract, his market research paid off in some sense. Obviously, if you know, if it was an issue, he would have had to go back and you know, generally speaking,
full
you know,
disclosure, when we received this picture here, the one on the right, when Dave and I received this picture, we were both like, what the heck did this guy just do to our house? We were not happy. We
we're
called
like everything was going so smooth until we saw this. Like, what the hell did we just get? Is this a
Yeah.
joke? Like, are we on candid camera here?
And
But again, right?
we told him to
working.
repaint it, and he's like, no, the buyers told me they want that. And we were like, all right, if you think it's gonna sell, we'll give you a week or so. And
We're
it's sold.
trust your local professionals. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. Again, just keep in mind, we're giving the market what they want at the price they want.
Mhm.
That's it. So like, you know, do we go new versus refinish? We're going to refinish wherever we can, unless the market dictates that the buyers expect new. You know, if they expect the full kitchen or bathroom to be updated, then we're going to do it to that level. We're going to look at what the recent comps were, what sold in our price point, and what was that product? What did they deliver? So we're not guessing on any of this. We're taking what we can see that we use as comps from other, you know, renovations that went successful, and then we're basically comparing that to our local expert, our agent, and what they know buyers want, what their gripes have been, you know, any little things where we can add value. Maybe so this one, important on this one, we had it listed as a 3-bedroom. We bought it as a 3-bedroom, but there's clearly a 4th room on it. Now, the C of O called it a 3-bedroom, so we couldn't advertise it as a 4-bedroom, but we were able to put it in the body copy of the description on the listing. And when buyers got in and saw that, you know, they were quick to put 2 and 2 together of like, oh, there's a bonus room here. Once I own it, I can use that as whatever I want. So, you know, you highlight where you can any additional features that add value. Yeah, so takeaways, design features, again, leverage our local pros. That one was a surprise, but it worked. So, new versus save, again, we're going to trust the guidance of our local team. But obviously we want to be as cost effective as we can. So this is important as well. When we go into a reno, Jeremy and I, obviously we'll do our due diligence. We'll get our comps, we'll plug everything into our calculator. We'll come up with a rough estimate on what we think reno is going to be. And then what we do is, now we don't give our agent or our contractor our numbers. We use them to confirm what we already know. And if they're off for some reason, I want them to justify it to us. So we don't go to our contractor and say, hey, we need to do this, this, and this. Can you get it done for this price in this time frame? We reverse engineer that and say, hey, agent, if you were to relist this property and we were going to renovate it, and I told you my goal is to have it in contract, let's just say average days on market is 30 days in this zip code. And I said, hey, we want to be in contract in less than that. What price are we coming on at? Okay, knowing that, what condition do we need to do it? Do we need to have it in? And what renovation do we absolutely need to do to get it to the condition where it'll sell at that price point? Now they're confirming our numbers. Now they're going to go to the contract. We're going to go to the contractor and be like, hey, we need this, 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 and this done. What can you do it for? And if those numbers, you know, jive, then because we made this mistake on a deal with a new contractor. We had a great relationship with the agent. So, you know, we trusted, you know, kind of having an open forum, and turned out they could have done it, you know, substantially less than we had budgeted for. And, you know, we would have potentially, I mean, look, the deal still would have been profitable for us, but it opened up an opportunity for them to kind of take advantage of our honesty and kindness. So now we don't give anyone our numbers. We basically discuss a goal and then let them give their numbers. And if there's some negotiation needs to happen to make it work, we can do that.
Yeah, Dennis asked, do you have a performance agreement and hold back money until punch is completed? We don't have, like I said before, all we can hold back at the very end is the half of the final payment. So, performance agreement is literally the entire contract. They know exactly what they have to do to perform. And on top of that, right before Gage said, wouldn't you want a bigger payment at the end so they care more about finishing? If I could, I would. Unfortunately, the way the payment is structured, why they care about finishing is because we know this is not a one-off project, right? If they don't do a good job and they don't finish the project for us, our relationship's going to be over. So again, it goes back to the start, when you build the relationship, they understand that we are essentially partnering in this business. We all want to make money together. We want to have successful flip after successful flip, right? And them not finishing a project or not caring about what the quality of their finishes are, they're absolutely going to hear about that. And we'll make them redo it if they have to.
Yeah, obviously we have a little bit of leverage because we were spending a decent amount on marketing and, running multiple projects. Once we got that relationship going with a contractor, if you're a one-man show and maybe you only plan on doing 2 flips a year, you're going to, do slow flips and that's it. You're happy with that. You're going to do it part-time. You have a full-time job you like. You don't have that same leverage, but still treat it the same.
Yeah. Dave, can you answer Dennis's question? This is more of a you question.
How do you
Last
find an
question. How
agent
do you
willing
find
to
an agent
put in
willing to
the,
put in the extra work?
yep. Man, generally speaking, I like the more independent. We have a mix. There's benefits to both. What I do is I go look through sales volume. And so I'll start with the agents that have the most volume, and then I'll test them the same way. I ask them, I basically send them a similar text. I've been testing a bunch of different ones. The verbiage isn't exact. I'm constantly, I like testing things. But I may kind of play dumb and just be like, hey, I'm an out-of-state flipper, new to the area. We have a property under contract, wondering if you're looking for new listings, right? I want to see how they respond. Like, I don't need to give away the farm on how much volume we're doing anything yet. I want them to impress me. We have one team. There's benefits on a team. We've given them enough volume that I feel we do get really good attention from our agent on that team. If you're with a team or a bigger agency, understand that not everyone on the team is necessarily the expert at what you're doing. So make sure you talk with the team lead and they drive you to the right agent. We have on one team of agents that we work with, there's a different agent that will deal with our fix and flips and go be on site and kind of manage our renos and flip them. Then there is an agent that we just give our realtor referrals. Basically, leads that we generate that want full retail. Doesn't go to our fix and flip agent that lists all our projects. Benefit of it, doesn't matter that they're on the same team or not. Like, you can have multiple agents for different needs within a market. But part of the reward on, for getting our agent that's listing our flips working so hard for us, is that we are going to give them those realtor referrals as well. Because what happens, right? That's an amazing relationship as well. We're going to, obviously, they're getting as much of a layup lead as you possibly can, because when our acquisition team is on the phone with them, we go through the 4 pillars. We're getting a lot of intimate information about this property, about their time frame, their price, their motivation, the condition. And then they're handing that off and spoon feeding that to the agent. And the way they hand that off is, hey, we have a rock star agent that lists all of our properties. Let me see if they're available right now and I could put you on the phone with them. So we're trying to make it like they're an internal part of our team. We're giving you the best. We trust them. We give them all of our business. We're probably not a fit for you. We think you can make more money just listing it if you did this and this and this. We're extremely transparent with our sellers as well. So that builds a lot of trust. So then when we hand them off to our agent, let's just say the agent lists it at the price they wanted, it doesn't sell. And maybe they did have a real problem to solve, and now they don't have time on their side. That agent is probably sending it. I mean, they're not going to send it to someone else. They're going to send it right back to us anyway. So that was a long answer to the difference between independent or larger brokers. It's a person specific thing. I'm unattached to what brokerage they work for or how big it is, or I want someone who's hungry and whose actions show that, not their words. So like the first filter, once we actually are going to test someone, is we'll send them one of the properties we just locked up. And I want them to be there with their contractor in 24 hours. And I want them to give us their assessment. if not 24 hours because they're busy. I want a reasonable time frame. But I'm balancing, I want the agent who does a lot of business with the agent who also has time for me, who's not so damn busy that I'm not going to get the attention that we want.
Yeah, and like the agent referral is a huge incentive for them, right? These are properties that we weren't going to be able to do anything with. And how you word the agent referral to your sellers is huge as well. It's one thing to basically say like, well, hey, do you have an agent? Because every single seller you ever talk to, if you ask the question, do you have an agent? The answer is going to be yes, right? We like to position it where it's, hey, we have an amazing agent on our team. She's the best agent in the area. You're absolutely going to love her. I'm going to connect you with her. She's going to go through what you could do as far as selling the house in the market. It's so much easier that way than like an ask, like, oh, do you have an agent? If not, I got an agent I can refer to you. No. You wanted to talk to us. You wanted us to solve your problem. Well, the agent is part of our team. That's the next step. I try to look at it as a fix and flip for you. Clearly the numbers aren't going to work. Now let's have you get on the phone with Jordan and she's going to walk you through what it looks like to list the house. And she's going to take care of that part for you. Okay. And when we started doing that, we started getting way more listing referrals.
If you guys are generating leads right now actively, track your stuff as well, because it makes it really, it also gives you a lot of leverage when you call up a realtor in a new market. So I could go into brand new market and I could look at, hey, across all of our markets right now, in the last 60 days, we've referred $19,637,929 worth of realtor referrals for listings based on the marketing that we're running. Agents' ears are going to perk up. Wait. You guys are getting on the phone, qualifying them. It doesn't work for you, and you're seamlessly handing them off to me. Yes, that's someone I want to perform for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had within a couple hours, $800,000 listing referred over to our agent and appointment set for the next day. Like, couldn't get any easier than that. Hey, here's an $800,000 listing on a plate. Do you want it? Like, yes, of course I do. It's not a warm lead. It's a listing on a plate. So
again, you have to be generating your own direct to seller leads for that to work.
Yeah.
But if you're doing that and you're spending good time and money and resources generating them and you're not referring to an agent, you're leaving money on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Because that agent now is going to go above and beyond and find you deals that they're going to bring back before they list them as well. That relationship just keeps growing. You could hit a point where like all your business is free, just coming from your agent, finding you stuff. Because they know exactly what your buy box is. They know they're going to get the listing. They know they're getting paid. Our contractors are sending us deals all the time as well. Why? It's going to keep them working.
Mm-hmm.
You just open up 2 new lead gen channels for free.
Yeah. Okay, it is 8 minutes past the hour, so out of respect to you guys, I didn't want this to go too long. Do you guys have any questions? Anything we haven't covered? Anything you want clarity on? I'm happy to stay on and answer more questions. I just don't want to keep anyone on here any longer than they can be.
Yeah, thank you all for showing up on a weekday.
Cool. Okay, then obviously I believe all of you, if not almost all of you, have recently joined our school program, and we absolutely appreciate you guys showing some love in there. We're trying to grow that community, and we're at what, 119 people right now. So if you guys could share our link with 1 or 2 people, that'd be amazing, just to help us grow. And we'll try and continue to give you guys as much value as we can. We'll do one of these calls every week, and it might not always be a deal breakdown, but we're gonna provide value to you guys every week, and let us know what we can do to continue to provide value. right? Dave and I are not always the most creative people, so if you tell us what we want, we can usually help provide that. Otherwise, you're gonna get deal breakdowns every week.
And at some point, if you guys have deals, we'll break down your deals. Would love to go through that with you. But, you know, this is just where we're starting. We're figuring this out kind of as we go. And we can serve you guys better when you just tell us what you want.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, can you dive deeper on this? We really enjoyed this. Here, hey, I'm in a project right now. Here's where I'm stuck. You know, let us know. And yeah, if you could share that link and help us grow the community, that'd be awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.